Lee Cole here with us. If y'all will, please stand for invocation. And before we give the invocation, if y'all don't mind, this is the first time this body has met since the passing of our police chief, our fire chief of 27 years. So at this time, if y'all would observe a moment of silence with me. Thank you very much. Y'all please help us in keeping the Ellison family in your thoughts and prayers over the next few weeks to come. And at this time, I'll ask Councilman Alexander if you will give the invocation.
Let's pray. Father God, we thank you for this day, Lord, the opportunity you give us to come to this place and discuss the town's business tonight. And Father, I pray that as we meet, Lord, that we would, in everything that we say and everything that we do, Lord, that it would just bring honor and glory to your name. And I pray, Father, that you would lead us by your Holy Spirit. And Father, I pray for the family of Steve Ellison, Lord, that you be with them, Lord, that you touch them and comfort them during this difficult time. And Lord, I just pray that you just surround them, Lord, with your comfort and your love. Lord, just let them know that you're there. I pray that you lead us now by your Holy Spirit. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. If you will, please remain standing and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This time you may be seated. It's a special day today. We actually have our Ward 2 seat that's been vacant since January filled. And at this time, I would ask that Lee Cole and Mary Frances, Sherry, and Greg, if y'all will come to the front to be sworn in. And Lee, the town Bible is right there.
I, Gregory Lee Cole, Jr.
Do solemnly swear
that I am duly qualified according to the Constitution of this state to exercise the duties of the office to which I have been elected, and that I will to the best of my ability discharge the duties thereof and preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of this state and of the United States. So help me God. As council member of the municipality of Williamston, I will equally, fairly, and impartially, to the best of my ability and skill, exercise the trust reposed in me, and I will use my best endeavors to preserve the peace and to carry into effect according to law the purposes for which I have been elected. So help me God. Thank you.
Outstanding. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, all members have our meeting minutes from last month, March 1st and the 11th. This time I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes as written.
Move to approve the minutes as written.
Have a motion by Councilman Alexander to approve the minutes as written. Do I hear a second?
Second.
I have a second by Councilman Haygood. Any question, any discussion? All in favor? None opposed. All right, this time we'll have public comment. Mr. Thompson, if you will step up to the microphone here.
How y'all doing today?
Doing well.
Good. I'm just here to make a proposal on to start some line dance classes here in Williamston. 25 years, since '96, and I'm teaching out some other places, and so I've got a little room at my house. I kind of do things. I try to get some more classes there, but it's kind of small. I ain't got a whole lot enough room, and so I've been looking for somebody to help me out, give me just some space where I could go out and teach some dancing and get people out and doing things and everything that's been going on, kind of give them something to do and have a little fun. And so I love to dance, and like I said, it's good exercise. And so had a lot of things happen the last couple of years. My mom used to like and watch us dance, and she's in nursing home a long time last year. And the nursing home, I got my own dance team now. And they have to let us come over there and take the dancing to my mom. She wasn't able to come and see us, and so they let me give that to her before she passed away. And another thing I want to do, I got something going on. I got a picture back there. Back when I was a kid, I was born club footed, and Shriners Hospital, I went there 16 years old. And so, over time, people do things, don't really appreciate it till you get older. And now I'm older, and what I do now, I got the thing, wouldn't be possible was they hadn't done what they done for me when I was a baby. And so I've been communicating with Shriners, and about what I kind of want to do is do a fundraiser. Kind of get up do a dance show, fundraiser for Shriners Hospital, try to give back something, appreciate them for what they've done for me. Only thing I know, could think of the way I could give back while I'm still here. Like I said, I just turned 61 years old, and y'all know, you don't know what's going to happen day by day. As a matter of fact, one of my dance students this past year, I had wrecked my truck, and I teach at 418 dance morning Pelzer, so she was coming by picking me up on Monday and Thursday nights to class. Well, one Thursday night, right out of class, she was dancing in class and, having a good time. She complained about hurting a little bit and stuff. We didn't think a whole lot about it, so anyway. But she went home and took me home that night. She was complaining a little about hurting. I told her, it gets any better, any worse, you ought to get checked, so she let me out. And so I had messed her back a few minutes later to make sure she got home okay. Well, I didn't hear nothing back, so I get up next morning, I do a little class at Total Fitness in Powdersville too, silver sneakers, 3 days a week. And so I woke up next morning and I got a call. The reason my friend didn't answer my message, right out the street at Mama Mia's in Pelzer, she had ordered planes and I didn't know it. Come to find out, she didn't even make it home that night. And she was one of I got a dance team called Snakes Angels, and she was one of my students, and it was really tough. So I go to show y'all know that night before she was fine and dancing. She wasn't here the next day, and that's been really tough. And so, like I said, all I'm asking y'all is for a venue. I know y'all don't approve my dancing in the auditorium, but what I would like to do is get y'all's permission somehow, talk to about getting this fundraiser plan together, and just wanting a venue to do our show, whether the auditorium or use the park outside with everything that's going on. So I just wanted to grant y'all if that's any way possible. That's all I was asking for, something to give back, for what they've done for me, and that's the only way I know to do it. Okay. And I'd sure appreciate it.
Sounds good. I appreciate you coming and talking to council this evening. My staff will put together a proposal that's modeled after the same group we do for the swing class to be approved, and I think we have a pretty good understanding of what you're wanting to do, and I don't think that's going to be a problem. When it comes time for the Shriners thing you're talking about, when you have a definitive date and a venue, I'm
trying to get together.
If you will come back before this body, let us know what you're intending to do, and they will give you approval or to be able to use the grounds.
Okay.
All right.
I sure appreciate it, sir.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank y'all. Have a good day.
Appreciate you for coming out tonight. Any more public comment? Go ahead, Councilman.
Just a real quick question. I was wanting to ask, is it necessary that we approve the special call meeting minutes? Is that necessary?
I believe we approved them both at the same time.
At the same time?
We did.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you. At this time, we'll hear from Marion Middleton Jr., special request from the Planning Commission.
I just want to make, do I have the 3-minute rule here?
Take your time. We got a long agenda, 5 more minutes.
Well, I promise you it won't be much longer than 3 minutes. First of all, I want to tell you the Planning Commission is really excited about the works being done around here, especially in the park. We've always believed that park is the central focus of this town, and the expansion of what can be and renovation of it. It was featured in the Municipal Association magazine this month. It made the comment that it's one of the oldest parks in the nation, and that is true, and I don't think we focus on that a lot. Speaking of the Planning Commission, that needs to be brought forward. That park in 1852 was set aside as a municipal park. Now, there are areas of the country like Boston Commons, it goes back to 1630, but it was basically a pasture. It wasn't a park till 1830. So this park, from the very beginning, was a municipal park, which makes it, I wouldn't be afraid to say, one of the oldest 15 parks in the United States. And that's something else that we could play on. And so we're excited about that. We're excited about some of the changes in town. And as a planning commission, we're working to try to give you the structure to make these changes possible and get business in town. Some of our work is going to be on the agenda tonight. And it's important people understand that while we aren't under the city government, we assist the city government. We represent the people and the best interest of the people. And a good example of that is, just to show you what we've been doing, is we put into place with the assistant city attorney some mobile home regulations. We're not anti-mobile home. They're just a time and a place for everything in the town. And so we had a request for a mobile home on J.U. Street, which we approved. We had a public hearing. Then town attorney Cole sent out the letters. And we had some neighbors that came and said, yeah, that'd be fine with us. We know this lady. She'd be fine. We had one that spoke in opposition who was not a resident of the neighborhood. And so we felt like the residents of the neighborhood should have a voice there. And so we approved that. And because of the work we've done, and the council has done with us, is that we have basically a sheet of paper now. It's no longer, well, you need to do this, or maybe this. Here's what you need to do. And that's what we're looking for as a planning commission, to get more of that. When people come in and say, what about Williamston? What can we do? Well, here you go. We are working on a comprehensive plan. I know this plan's like forever. COVID hit the planning commission pretty hard. Not necessarily the illness, but the protocols in place. If you're exposed and you got to stay home 14 days or stay. So this comprehensive plan, we're back to work, okay? And so we had our first meeting with Chip Bentley from ACOG, and so hopefully by the end of the summer we'll have a plan to present to you. Again, we started this thing last March, and COVID hit, everything got crazy, and so we weren't able to do that. We did talk about the comprehensive plan a lot, but the one thing the Planning Commission has talked about in discussion with some other things is we would voted unanimously to recommend that council study the possibility of closing Rogers Street. If you're headed towards Anderson on Main Street, you cross the bridge. The first street on your right is Davis Street. The second street on your right is Rogers Street. And it's a short street. There are really no drives that exit or enter onto Rogers Street. And in discussion with the mayor, we're talking about this. The town is now responsible for roads. And so anything that we can do to help to get a road out of the system that you won't be financially responsible for would help. It also helps for the development of downtown. We talked about this, the possibility of Cherokee Road coming across ever happens. Then certainly having another entry below that would be an issue. While Rogers Street is not a long street and certainly not a lot of paving there, there is a culvert there, which if that so we just recommend you study it. I mean, we don't really know all the details. Either there are utilities, there are easements and things like that. What it looks like, or if it even happens, is up to you. It may be just closing off on Main Street, maybe closing up on Malden Street, maybe closing off at the creek, whatever. But we voted unanimously that we recommend to you that you study the closure of that street, see if it's feasible, possible, whatever it is you want to do. And we're back at work next week, or next month rather, with, well, actually the end of this month on the comprehensive plan. Any questions about anything?
Thank you for your diligence. We appreciate you guys on the Planning Commission. Y'all do an excellent job. Next up, we're going into our old business. We have second reading on an ordinance amending zone regulations in the RC district. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to approve that ordinance on second reading.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Have a motion on the floor by Council Lady Austin. Looking for a second.
Second.
Have a second by Councilman Cole. Any discussion? All right, and then we'll call a question. All in favor? None opposed. Item number 2 on old business. We have second reading on an ordinance amending regulations concerning parking and storage of campers and RVs. I think everybody's read through that numerous times. So at this time, I'll call for a motion.
Move to accept the ordinance as written.
A motion on the floor by Councilman Alexander, accept as written. Looking for a second.
Second.
Have a second by Councilman Haygood. Any question or discussion?
I have a question. Do we currently have any campers in town limits that are in violation of this ordinance? Does anyone know?
Debbie, can you allude to that?
Do we currently have any campers in town limits that would be in violation of this ordinance?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
I think there's maybe 2, maybe 3.
Okay.
And Mayor, can I ask Ms. Chapman
Please.
a question as well?
Please.
Ms. Chapman, do you believe that this, the changes in this ordinance will help the town in enforcing the prohibition on campers and basically stopping people from living in campers? Do you think it will help?
I feel like it would help if they don't have the capability of building the porches and hooking the water lines in the sewer. Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll elaborate just a little bit on that. This particular ordinance changes basically deals with things like appendages. So if you put a front porch on it, that would be, what's the legal term I'm looking for? Prima facie evidence that you are indeed living in it. So you can't have appendages. If you've got a sewer connection coming out of the back of it, going down to our sewage system, that is prima facie evidence that you're in violation, that you're living in it. So those helps to close the gap on those things and helps to be able to make a very clear determination as to whether or not someone is in compliance or out of compliance with the ordinance. Any further question? Thank you. That said, I'll call the question. All those in favor? And none opposed. Item number 3, we have second reading on an ordinance adopting regulations for mobile food vending. Again, this is one we've studied and looked over quite frequently and we're very familiar with. So at this time, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve.
We have a motion on the floor by Council Lady Austin to approve on second reading a regulation for mobile food vending. I'm looking for a second.
Second.
We have a second by Councilman Haygood. Any discussion?
Mayor, just briefly, my understanding of this and as far as my understanding of the intention of this ordinance is that if somebody comes in wanting to have a mobile food vending operation as we've defined it, they would come into town hall and someone would have them they would have to get a business license or temporary business license as appropriate, and then they would also have to get a license to be a mobile food vendor.
Correct.
And they would be able to, town staff would be able to accommodate them in getting that. Is that correct?
That is correct, and we're also establishing some administrative protocols on how to handle that. I'll be working with Michelle and Councilman Alexander, who is also our de facto councilman of admin. So we're getting some processes in place to do that. As it stands currently, you can have food trucks. Matter of fact, there was one here this weekend that operate under a totally different guideline. This guideline makes it a little bit more stringent and clarifies a few things that we may or may not have issues with. Any further discussion? Okay, at this time, I'll call a question. All in favor? And none opposed. Item number 4, old business. We have second reading on an ordinance authorizing the purchase of real property near Pelzer Avenue. Again, those of you who have been here are familiar with that ordinance. And so at this time, I'll entertain a motion on the floor authorizing the purchase of real property near Pelzer Avenue.
So moved.
Have a motion on the floor by Councilman Cole. Looking for a second.
Second.
Have a second by Councilman Alexander. Any discussion? All those in favor? And none opposed. Item number 5, we have a second reading on an ordinance authorizing the sale of real property near Pellsbury Avenue. Again, we're all very familiar with this particular ordinance, proposed ordinance. And at this time, I'll entertain a motion to adopt it on second reading.
So moved.
We have motions all over the floor.
Okay.
We'll call
Take your
Councilman
pick.
Haygood. We'll call Councilman Haygood has that motion. I'm looking for a second. We have a second by Councilman Alexander. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. All in favor? And none opposed. At this time, I would move that we amend our agenda to do a budget amendment out of a hospitality tax due to a time-sensitive issue is why I request that we amend the agenda tonight to look at doing an amendment to our hospitality tax budget for the 2021 year. So at this time, I'll move that we amend our agenda to accommodate a budget amendment of hospitality tax for 2020, 2021. I so move. Looking for a second.
A second.
We have a second on the floor by Council Lady Austin. Any discussion? All in favor? And none opposed. All right, now that our agenda is amended, I have a proposal that I think most of you have seen. If you have not, please pass it around. If you pass that around the lead. I think everybody else has seen it, but probably lead. We've had considerable discussion about what to do with the old tennis courts in the park, as well as rehabilitating the basketball courts in the park. I don't know if you've been out there recently, but they're in very poor condition. The asphalt's not level. It's been cut several times, patched several times, and we look at hospitality tax, or at least I look at hospitality tax as something that we need to invest in that will continue to bring people in from outside the city to come in and to shop at our restaurants, to participate in all the things we have going on in town. So we had considerable discussion about pickleball, turning tennis into pickleball, or current tennis courts into pickleball, and making the most use of that space that we have back there. So I had sent out a request for proposals on South Carolina Small Business Opportunity webpage, which is pretty much a clearinghouse for any type of request for proposals or bid work. And we received one response back. Keep in mind, there's not that many folks who are into the tennis courts, paving, and that particular type work. But with the proposal we got back was from Talbot Tennis out of Georgia, Marietta? Yeah, they're out of Marietta, Georgia. Everybody else seen this? They're out of Marietta, Georgia, and their proposal came in at just a little under $160,000, and that would refurbish those courts as well as the basketball courts, put new basketball goals up, nets, and they also resurface with an acrylic that goes over the top. So it's a very neat process. It looks good, and I'm confident that should we get pickleball in Williamston, that we will have quite a few folks that will be willing to participate. The issue that we're up against at the moment is time. They're trying to get a milling machine truck or milling machine out here, as well as keep up with the weather. They have to have certain temperatures, and it's in their specifications. I don't remember what that is, but we either have to start it very, very soon. We definitely would need to start it in this budget cycle if we're going to see that come to fruition this year, this calendar year. Our budget cycle runs until July 1. So we're currently under the 2020-2021 budget cycle, and I reviewed with our clerk / treasurer that we do have the ability to do this in hospitality tax if we do it in half increments. In other words, we pay half this budget cycle and do the other half next budget cycle. And what that would do is still leave funding in hospitality tax for our other events that we traditionally do, Spring Water Festival, Pig in the Park, all those things. So it would not cripple our hospitality tax to do that. So with that said, I would like to get started on that as quickly as possible. And I would move that we allocate $80,000 of hospitality tax this budget cycle, 2020-2021, toward refurbishing the basketball courts and the new installation of pickleball courts. Keep in mind, those courts will not just be resurfaced over, they have to be milled up, repacked back down, reground, and new layers of asphalt and acrylic placed over the top of it, as well as netting and all the other stuff that goes along with it. The only thing this proposal does not include is the exterior fencing around. And typically, that does include the fencing on the inside of the courts, which is a 4-foot fence that separates each individual court from each other, but it does not include the perimeter fence. And I would expect that would run less than $15,000 to do that once we're all said and done. I don't really want to do that now, and I'm fairly confident we can get that done locally, a lot less expensive than having folks out of Marietta, Georgia, come in to put fencing in. So, as of right now, the total cost is $160,000 thereabouts, and I'm requesting $80,000 out of hospitality tax of the 2020-2021 budget to go ahead and get started on those pickleball courts because they are sensitive. And I make that in the form of a motion. Do I hear a second?
A second.
We have a second from Council Lady Austin. Any discussion?
Mayor, briefly,
Yes.
I've reviewed this, and I believe this is, at first, when you first look at it, it does seem like a lot of money. However, it's my view, I agree with Mr. Middleton, that our park is our greatest asset, and I don't think there's anything better that we can spend this hospitality tax money on than to revitalize our park. And I think this goes a long way. It's my understanding from conversations in our work session that if this, and I've learned some more about pickleball, and I think this could be potentially something that could be big for our town, but also even if it does not, if it turns into a fad, then these can easily be turned into tennis courts or basketball courts, and you can even park on these surfaces. So I think overall this will be a great, addition to our park and a step in the right direction. So I'm in favor of this.
Thank you. Appreciate the good dialogue. That is if you look at the tennis court area, that is a very, very large area of our park that hasn't been used in many, many years. The town went ahead and took steps under my direction to go ahead and remove the fencing, the old rusted fencing and stuff, the old lighting that was a hazard. People could actually climb on it. And just opening that space up has made all the difference in the world. So I'm certainly in favor of it, and I'm very excited for our community. I think it's something that's going to definitely achieve the ultimate goal of hospitality tax, which is to bring people in who ordinarily would not come. So with that said, any other question or discussion? Hearing none, we'll call a question. All in favor? Thank you, gentlemen. Ladies, sorry. All right, new business, item number 6, resolution amending the water and sewer tap fee schedule. Let me tell you kind of where this come from, and it's a little bit of a complex issue. I've had meetings with the county as well as with other jurisdictions that handle water and sewerage, and we did a review of our current fees, and our current fee schedule is around $870, I think, or $900 for a water tap, and the town provides the materials, which runs about $850. So in all actuality, you make about $50 per water tap. What we aren't capitalizing on is the additional, sewer tap. What we aren't understanding is that anytime we tap onto our sewer system, DHEC automatically assesses that home or that tap at 300 gallons per day. That's 300 gallons we don't get back, all right? And the bill that you pay, the sewerage bill that you pay currently, basically at this time just is able to handle the treatment of that water. That's it. It does not expand capacity of the plant. It does not expand the lines. It does not upgrade the lines. It doesn't do any of that for us. So what we're going to, in studying the numbers, I have determined unequivocally that if we continue down the path that we're on currently, our sewerage system, we're either not going to be in the sewer business or we're going to have to go up drastically on the rates to accommodate any new influx of taps to our system. The average cost to upgrade sewer capacity at a plant, our plant's currently rated at 1 million gallons, but the average cost is going to run about $15 per gallon to upgrade our plant to accommodate any new growth. So you've got two options. You can either increase rates on our folks, and I'll be honest with you, that's the last option that I want to do. It doesn't make sense to ask our residents to pay for other folks that are coming into our city. We welcome them. We want them to be here. But at the other hand, we don't want to put such a burden on our current residents that they can no longer afford to live in Williamston. So with that said, I propose that we increase our rates from what they are currently, our sewer tap fees, to $2,500 per tap fee. And typically, I've spoke with several builders, and while they don't really like a tap fee, none of us do. None of us like to have to pay any more money. They said, it's built into the price of the home. It's a one-time fee. It's built in up front. And what that does, that allows us to expand as necessary. That allows us to capitalize on that growth that we all know we're coming. And it allows us to keep our rates at a reasonable level for the folks, current residents that we have now. So with that said, I'll entertain a motion to adopt a resolution establishing a sewer tap fee schedule at $2,500 per tap.
I move we adopt the resolution.
We have a motion on the floor from Councilman Alexander. Do I hear a second?
Second.
We have a second by Councilman Haygood. This time I'd love to hear some discussion.
What was it you said Anderson County currently charges?
Anderson County currently charges $4,000 per tap. And in my research, that's been pretty much the going rate. And I realize that's a large chunk of money, but also you have to understand when you're dealing with a sewerage system, sewer is heavily governed. There's a lot of restrictions on it of what you can and can't do. You almost can't do anything without having an engineer involved. Not that engineers aren't great folks, but it costs a lot of money to be able to do and operate a sewerage system. So our fees, I've tried to keep, at first I was entertaining a $4,000, and then I've been in discussion with some other folks, and I feel like that we can do what we need to do at a level of $2,500 at this time. So that's why I'm asking for that increase. Any other discussion?
I am, just want to tell the people, I guess, with just running, I told people I was not for new fees and taxes, and I'm not for them, and I don't like this, just like I don't like any additional fee or tax. However, in studying this issue, I think this is absolutely necessary, and with it being on new developers, at least it is not on the people of the town that have been paying taxes for years, and at least it is not raising basically the water bill. It's the sewer portion, but when we get the bill, it's the water bill, and this will at least put that off. That we understand the issues with the sewer department and the issues with the cost of running our sewer system. So I know nobody up here probably likes this, but I do believe it's absolutely necessary.
Thank you for those comments. I share those same sentiments, and keep in mind that when we adopt this will go into effect immediately. So if someone comes here to pull a permit, pull a sewer tap fee, this would actually be in place tomorrow. So know that before you cast your vote. Any other discussion?
Thank you.
All right, with that said, we'll call the question. All in favor? And we have none opposed. Item number 6, and it's way back in this stuff. Y'all have to give me just a minute to find it. Our packets, by the way, are about 8 pounds heavy and about 589 pages thick. But hey, that's a good thing. That lets you know a lot of things are happening in Williamston, and we are super duper excited about the things that are happening and the things to come. All right, item number 6, we have a resolution to recognize April as Fair Housing Month, and I'll say again. Item number 7. I'm sorry, thank you. We have a resolution to recognize April as Fair Housing Month, and I'll read that very quickly. Whereas the town of Williamston desires that all citizens be afforded the opportunity to attain a decent, safe, and sound living environment, And whereas the town of Williamston rejects discrimination on the basis of race, religion, color, sex, national origin, disability, and/or familial status in the sale, rental, or provision of housing services. And whereas the state of South Carolina enacted the South Carolina Fair Housing Law in 1989. Whereas April is recognized nationally as Fair Housing Month. Now therefore be it resolved that the town of Williamston does hereby designate April as Fair Housing Month. This time I'll entertain a motion on this resolution.
So moved.
Have a motion on the floor by Councilman Alexander. Looking for a second.
I second.
Second by Council Lady Austin. Any discussion? All in favor? And we have none opposed. Moving on to item number 8, resolution requesting ACTC funding for paving. I'll read that in its entirety as well. We have a resolution requesting funding from the Anderson County Transportation Committee for the paving of roads. Whereas the roads listed below are public roads, all or a portion of which are within the corporate limits of the town of Williamston, and whereas all or a portion of the below listed roads are in need of paving. Now therefore be it resolved that the council of the town of Williamston formally request that the Anderson County Transportation Committee allocate funding and provide any other available assistance necessary to pave the following roads listed in order of priority: Sullivan Street, Lee Street, Dove Street, Madison Drive, C Street, and Attaway Street. And be it further resolved that the town council commits to provide such matching funds as may be required by the Anderson County Transportation Committee, and be it further resolved that the town council authorizes the mayor to execute any documents or take any necessary action on behalf of the town that may be required by the Anderson County Transportation Committee to pave these roads. This time I'll entertain a motion to adopt this resolution as written.
I have a quick question though. Are these?
Let's get a motion on the floor,
Okay.
and then a second, then we'll discuss.
Okay,
You offering a motion?
yes.
Have a motion on the floor by Council Lady Austin. Do I hear a second?
Second for discussion.
Second by Councilman Haygood for discussion. All right, Council Lady Austin?
Are these in fact in order of priority?
Those are in order of priority as our Public Works has determined, and I have went out and viewed those as well. And all of them need paving. I can't tell you what priority order, but all of them are in really rough shape.
Okay.
Councilman Haygood?
But even at the approval of the resolution, that does not put it in stone, that doesn't carve it in stone, that these will be paved.
It does not. Let me explain the process very quickly. Basically, we adopt a resolution requesting that these roads be paved. The Anderson County Transportation Committee will have their engineer go out and give a rough price of what it's going to take to do that, and then they will report back to the County Transportation Committee. That Transportation Committee will then take a vote based on their funds and resources they have, and they may give us one road, they may give us two of them, they may give us none of them, we don't know. But they do ask that we do a resolution to present to them to even be considered for funding. So those are the roads that are in the most, in the worst shape that we have in the city, and those are the ones that the administration is asking to be paved at this time. That's not to say we don't have other needs, and that's not to say there aren't other roads that need to be paved too. These are just the ones that are in the very worst shape that we'd like to see as quickly as possible. Any other discussion? All right, this time we'll call the question. All in favor? And we have none opposed. Next up, item number 9, we have a resolution authorizing a mutual aid agreement with the city of Anderson. That's a standard mutual aid agreement, and this is for law enforcement, by the way. And I believe it's written pretty much to the fact that if we call Anderson County, we need help, we need a dog, we need some type of assistance from Anderson County, they would be able to respond at our request with this mutual aid agreement. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Attorney. By the way, it is great to have Rain Campbell here. He is our new appointed town attorney, and we're excited to have him on board. Sorry I did not introduce you earlier. I forgot. So at this time, I'll entertain a motion reauthorizing a mutual aid agreement with the city of Anderson.
So moved.
Got a motion on the floor by Councilman Haygood. I'm looking for a second.
I second.
Have a second by Council Lady Austin. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call a question. All in favor? And none opposed. Item number 10, we have a resolution authorizing a mutual aid agreement with the Anderson County Sheriff's Office. Actually, it just says Anderson County, but we can assume it'd be the Sheriff's Office. Again, this is a mutual aid agreement for law enforcement whereby the Sheriff's Office could come and assist should we call them and request their assistance. This time I'll entertain a motion on the floor to adopt that resolution as written.
So moved.
Got a motion by Councilman Haygood,
Second.
second by Councilman Alexander. All in favor? Any discussion? All in favor will call a question. And none opposed. Item number 11, a resolution authorizing a mutual aid agreement with the City of Belton. Again, same thing. Law enforcement agreement with the City of Belton to provide assistance should we request that assistance from them. This time I entertain a motion to adopt that resolution.
So moved.
A motion by Councilman Haygood,
No second.
second by Councilman Cole. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call a question. And none opposed. Item number 12, a resolution authorizing a mutual aid agreement with the town of West Pelzer. Again, same thing. We call West Pelzer Police Department. We need assistance over here. They can respond with that mutual aid agreement. This time I entertain a motion to adopt that resolution as written.
So moved.
Have a motion on, oh,
Mayor, I got a question.
okay.
On the town of West Pelzer, if you look at number 4, procedure requesting law enforcement assistance, the previous 3 have basically that the chief of police is the one that reaches out or next in charge, but in this one for the town of West Pelzer does not include the same language. So I didn't know if that was inadvertently left out, or I have not looked at the previous one to see if it was the same, but if you'll look at it, you'll see what I'm talking about.
I appreciate you pointing that out, and I do recall when we initially adopted that, this is basically verbatim, I believe, of our previous mutual aid agreements. I believe that the reason for that was West Pelzer's in such close proximity to us that those officers, if they heard something going down in Williamston, we usually keep 2 officers on. So if they're fighting somebody, they don't have the time to stop what they're doing and say, go get West Pelzer. That would be if West Pelzer, their officers heard something going on where they felt it necessary to respond to Williamston, they could do that without the chief or his designee. All right? Good point.
I'll second the motion.
Second by, I got confused. Did we call a motion already? Okay,
Yes.
second, all right. Any discussion?
Mayor, this is an automatic aid agreement basically with West Pelzer, where the other cities, the chief has to approve it.
Understand.
Is that,
That's my understanding, yes. Any other discussion? Okay, it's the time we'll call a question. All in favor? And none opposed. Item number 13, we have first reading on an ordinance prohibiting trespassing on town property. This is one I do want to discuss briefly. As it stands currently with state statute, we could not place someone on trespass notice from the park. State statute deals with private property as opposed to public property. So what we're looking to do is establish an ordinance whereby it's enforceable with a city ordinance whereby our police officers could place someone on trespass notice from the park. There'd be various reasons they may place them on trespass notice. But that would actually give us a city statute as opposed to trying to stretch it a little bit on the state statute to put somebody on trespass notice. This gives a little more bite to putting somebody on trespass notice from town property. And so with that said, I'll read it in its entirety. This is an ordinance prohibiting trespassing on town property. Whereas the town council believes it is contrary to the public welfare and safety for any person to commit unlawful acts, use obscene language, or otherwise engage in disorderly or boisterous conduct on property owned or controlled by the town of Williamston, and whereas the town council desires to grant officers of the Williamston Police Department the authority to remove said persons from town property or prohibit said persons from entering upon town property. Now therefore it be ordained that the town council of the town of Williamston, Chapter 58, Article 2, Section 58-66 of the Code of Ordinances of Williamston shall be amended to read as follows. If any person is found to be violating any federal or state law or regulation, violating any town ordinance, using obscene language, grossly intoxicating, fighting, quarreling, riding, or otherwise conducting himself in a disorderly or boisterous manner on any property owned or controlled by the town, any officer of the Williamston Police Department may order said person to leave immediately the premises. Any person who fails to leave the premises immediately after being ordered to do so pursuant to this subsection A shall be guilty of an ordinance violation. Upon conviction thereof shall be punished in accordance with section 1-2 of this code of ordinances. If any person is ordered to be removed from the property owned or controlled by the town pursuant to above section A, any officer of the Williamston Police Department may issue such person a reasonable notice prohibiting said person from entering onto property owned or controlled by the town. Said notice shall include a specific list of parcels onto which said person is prohibiting from entering. Any person who shall enter onto a parcel of property in violation of a notice properly issued pursuant to this subsection shall be guilty of an ordinance violation, and upon conviction thereof shall be punished in accordance with section 1-2 of this code of ordinances. If any person is issued a notice prohibiting him from entering onto a parcel or property owned or controlled by the town pursuant to the above subsection, said prohibition shall remain in full force and effect until it is suspended by council. With that said, at this time we'll entertain a motion to pass on first reading an ordinance prohibiting trespassing on town property.
So moved.
We have a motion on the floor by Council Lady Austin. Looking for a second.
Second?
Have a second by Councilman Haygood. Any discussion?
Yes. Will that cover persons that may conduct themselves in a disorderly fashion during a council meeting?
We have another one coming up that will, we have another one coming up, and I'll explain when that one comes up. That's the next one coming up on item 14.
Okay, thank you.
You're not worried, are you?
No, sir.
That's a great question, but we'll address that here in just a few minutes. Any other discussion?
If there's like a typo in here, do we need to bring that up to attention now? Or
It wouldn't hurt. If you see a typo, we can certainly address that.
under section A, the fourth line down, Williamston Police Department may order said person to immediately leave the premises. Could we strike the first leave?
Yep.
Okay.
I don't know who drafted that. I'll second that motion.
All right, so I believe that's more of a clerical thing as opposed to it doesn't change the content of it, so I'm not going to actually amend that ordinance.
Okay.
We'll just all agree that we can strike
right.
that particular word in there. I don't think it has any legal value.
Yeah, Scrivener's error.
Scrivener's error. That's what I was looking for. Let me kind of tell you briefly how this came about. We're trying to get control of some of the issues going on within our parks primarily. This would also pertain to any town property, but more especially our parks. When you got folks down there that are, somebody sent me a video the other day that was absolutely heartbreaking. You had some I wouldn't say teenagers, they might have been 20s or teens, and they were literally cussing out some poor little lady and flipping her bird, and there wasn't a whole lot of anything anybody could do because our police officers have to witness it. Generally to be able to, or establish probable cause to be able to write a ticket or a citation. But in this case, they could, if they determined that person did not need to be there that was causing problems, and we deal with some of the same people over and over and over, I think the chief can tell you, over out in the park, that it's obvious that they're the ones causing the problem. Basically, they can serve them trespass notice, put them on notice where they cannot come back to the park. Now, if they feel like that was done in error, or that officer just didn't like them, or whatever it might be, they have the opportunity to come here once a month at our council meeting and appeal to council to lift that trespass notice. So there is a due process involved whereby they could come back to the park. We want our parks to be a safe place. We want them to be a clean place. And we want it to be a family place where families can gather and enjoy all the amenities that we have to offer, and certainly be outside, especially in light of COVID. So we hope everybody will work with us on that, and that gives us a little bit more teeth to be able to enforce some of those issues that we're seeing. Any other discussion? With that being said, I'll call the question. All in favor? And we have none opposed. Item number 14, we have first reading on an ordinance prohibiting disruption of public meetings. You would think that would be implied, and it certainly is implied, but this will just make some good clarification to the point that Councilman Haygood was speaking of. It would be unlawful, or we think that the attorneys, that our town attorney believes that it would most likely, we could not prohibit somebody from attending public meetings, at least on a continual basis. Now, we could ask them to leave this particular meeting if they're causing a problem, but next month, we could not stop them from coming back. So, anyhow, I'll read in full. An ordinance prohibiting disruption of public meetings. Whereas the town council believes it is contrary to the public welfare and safety for any person to disrupt public meetings of the town council or other bodies lawfully exercising their duties, and whereas the town council desires to grant officers of the Williamston Police Department the authority to remove said persons from public meetings. If any person is found to be violating any federal or state law or regulation, violating any town ordinance, using obscene language, grossly intoxicated, fighting, quarreling, rioting, or otherwise conducting himself in a disorderly or boisterous manner in any public meeting of the town council, planning commission, zoning board of appeals, or any other committee or body authorized by town council to conduct official business of the town, any officer of the Williamston Police Department shall, upon direction of the mayor or the presiding officer of said meeting, order said person to leave immediately, leave the premises of the meeting, and not return for the duration of the meeting. Any person who fails to follow the order of any officer of the Williamston Police Department given pursuant to this section shall be guilty of an ordinance violation. Upon conviction thereof, shall be punished in accordance with section 1-12 of this Code of Ordinances. With that said, I'll entertain a motion to adopt that on first reading.
I move that we accept this ordinance on first reading.
We have a motion on the floor by Councilman Haygood,
Second.
second by Councilman Alexander. Any discussion? Did that make sense, that what I was saying?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
My pleasure. No, we obviously, we want the public to be here. We want the public to participate in our meetings. We certainly value their input. This did not come as a result of a specific incident. This came as a result of us looking at the trespass charge and saying, okay, well, how could we prevent that from happening should something like that happen in the future? So this is more of a proactive measure that we now have something on the books that an officer could get somebody out of a meeting if they're being disruptive. All right? Any other discussion? With that said, I'll call the question. All in favor? And we have none opposed. Item number 15. First reading on an ordinance repealing rental housing regulations. I'll read in full. An ordinance repealing rental housing regulations. Whereas the town council previously adopted rental housing regulations by ordinance, and whereas the town council has found other means to address the issues of public safety that said ordinance is attempting to address, and whereas the town council desires to repeal the said rental housing regulation as they are no longer necessary for the town. This time I'll entertain a motion to adopt this ordinance on first reading.
I move we adopt this ordinance on first reading.
Have a motion on the floor by Councilman Haygood. Looking for a second.
A second.
Have a second by Council Lady Austin. Any discussion? All right, let me get a little bit of clarification. This was an ordinance that was adopted a while back whereby a landlord must pay a $10 fee annually on a rental property and list his information on there. We found that it was not accomplishing the overall objective. And one of the worst things, in my opinion, we can do is have a ordinance or a law on the books that does nothing, nothing to help the situation, but rather just makes life difficult on other folks. So with that said, that's how that came about. All right, any other discussion? All right, so at this time I'll call the question. All in favor? And we have none opposed. Item number 16, and our last item of the night. First reading on an ordinance allocating funds for road erosion. And I'll read its entirety. This is an ordinance allocating funds to repair road erosion and amending the budget to reflect the same. Whereas the roads of the town of Williamston has suffered heavy erosion due to rainfall and water runoff, and whereas the town council desires to allocate funding to repair the damage caused by such erosion to keep the town's roads in a safe condition for its citizens. And now therefore it be ordained that the sum of $40,000 is hereby allocated from the general fund to repair road erosion. The budget for the town of Williamston for the fiscal year 2020-2021 shall be amended to reflect this allocation. This originated, gentlemen, ladies, as a result of a washout, sudden hole that formed in the road in Shorebrook, on Shorebrook Drive, I believe the road name is. That was a total, I believe, of around $16,000 to $18,000 repair. And being proactive and knowing and assuming that we would likely have one or more between now and our next budget cycle, I thought it prudent and appropriate to go ahead and request $40,000, 16 to 18 of which was allocated already to Shorebrook. That washout, and by the way, just to give you a quick update, that is scheduled to be completing paved in the next few days. So they've already repaired the washout. They've got crush run, that's been packed, and they were just waiting on a good day to be able to do the asphalt in that area. We do have another one over on Simpson Street that has came up as of last week, and it's our hope that we can get that one corrected and repaired as well under this $40,000 amendment to our budget. With that said, I'll entertain a motion to adopt this ordinance as read.
So moved.
Have a motion on the floor by Councilman Haygood. Looking for a second.
Second.
Have a second by Councilman Alexander. Any discussion? All right. Keep in mind that should we not spend all the $40,000, it will just roll right back into our general fund for the next cycle. But I did want that ability to be able to make those repairs and effect those repairs as timely as possible, when and if they should come in between now and our fiscal year ending July 1.
And our reserves far exceed 40,000.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Michelle, can you give us a ballpark estimate? So we're around 2 million in reserves. To me, it doesn't make sense to continue to throw a cone up or a road barricade for 6 months to a year or even more. We know there's a problem. We've got the money to fix the problem. Let's fix it. All right? So it's that simple. So that concludes everything that we need to call a question. Any other discussion?
And I just want to say thank you, Mayor, not only for setting aside this $40,000 for such, case of emergencies, but also taking that extra step to monitor possible, situations and problems in the near future, and also doing what it takes to correct those things before it comes to the point of where we have to spend $25,000, $30,000 to correct a situation that we can monitor and then possibly fix before it reaches,
You're bringing up a great point, Councilman, and I have instructed our Public Works Director and they're in the process of doing this now. They're actually doing an inventory of all creek crossings and culvert crossings that go under any roadway that the town is required to maintain. What I'm expecting to receive in that will be what is the structure made of, what is its current condition, rated on a 1 to 5 scale, by 5 being excellent. And then at that time, we need to get a course of action to be proactive and either fix the problem before it becomes a washout, or if it's already a washout, it's too far gone, let's go ahead and budget in the next budget cycle to go ahead and have those things replaced. And let's be proactive and deal with them immediately, as opposed to those emergency situations where everybody throws their hands up. The other thing that I want to see is and our Public Works have been really, really good to work with us. And anything I've asked for, they have delivered. And I want to thank David Rogers and his staff. They have been phenomenal in working with us. The other thing they're going to do is they're going to go out at least biannually and visit those creek crossings, make sure that they're not stopped up, and make sure they're clear for water to flow, because ultimately, if water is obstructed, it's going to find a way out, and typically it makes its way around the pipes. So I think that's a little housekeeping and preventive maintenance we can do that will go a long way. I'd much rather do a $1,000 fix than a $10,000 or $20,000 or $300,000 fix.
Exactly.
All right.
So thank you.
Thank y'all. Any other discussion on that? At this time, we'll call a question. All in favor? All right. Anybody have anything? We don't have any executive session business tonight. Anybody have anything for the good of the order? Any praise reports, prayer requests? All right, well, I appreciate, go ahead.
I just want to add real quickly, for resolutions resolutions that we've gotten second reading on, we're going to be passing this around, so if y'all don't mind signing before we leave. I was going to
He's
look out
taking
for
charge of business. Outstanding. Well, again, I appreciate everybody coming out tonight. Certainly good to see everybody here in attendance. And at this time, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
No, I'm entertaining one.
Oh, okay.
You got a motion on the
I
floor?
so move.
Got a motion on the floor by Councilman Haygood,
A second.
second by Councilman